I'm so nervous.
Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of the Knits and Tales podcast. My name is Amy, and I'm addicted to knitting. I love all things fiber, but knitting's got my heart. So this will mostly be a knitting podcast. Now, the reason that I called it Knits and Tales is because I love stories. I love personal stories. I love hearing about your people's love stories, things they're proud of, things that they have accomplished in their life, just things they've gone through. Because I truly believe that your stories are part of who you are, and that's a really good way to get to know someone. So at the end of the knitting fiber fun, I am going to tell a story. Whether it's my story or possibly my fiance's story, a friend's story, or even a story I found online. I would hope that eventually I can start telling your stories. I would love it if you guys would email me and give me a story. Even if it's nothing you make up, give me something. I created an email for this podcast. It is linked in the description box below. Oh, I cannot talk. It's linked in the description box below. And if I can figure it out, I'll put it on the screen. But I'm not sure how much editing I will do because I'm really not good at that. So let's move on to what I'm wearing. This is what a lot of people probably already know what it is. It's a Musselburgh. And in my opinion, it's pretty much the best hat pattern ever. I have made 3 of them, and I'm working on my 4th. I was going to show it, but it is in the living room, and so is the 2-year-old. So it's just going to stay out there. I'll show it. Hopefully it'll be done for the next podcast, and I'll show it then. But the other thing I am wearing is a sweater that, as you can see, is a little too large for me, and it is a man's sweater. But it is probably one of my most treasured articles of clothing because it's my grandfather's. He passed away last May, and I'm really, really glad that I have this of his. It's cozy, it's comfy, and every time I look at it, it reminds me of him. And when I put it on, I just feel like I'm getting a big old hug from him. So I thought it was only appropriate to wear it on my first podcast. So let's move on to finished objects. Because this is my first podcast, I chose to only bring one finished object because I have multiple, but this is one that I actually really, really love. So I figured I'd show this, and hopefully next time I will have more. I cannot talk. Please excuse my stumbling. I am very, very nervous, but I have badly wanted to do this for probably 1.5 to 2 years now, and my fiance Don just said, do it. He got me the stuff that I needed. Hopefully I'll have the microphone set up and the lights set up next time, but I don't have all the equipment yet. So back to the Musselburgh. If you don't know about this pattern, you can use many different weights, and it's all about gauge. So you start the pattern, and then as you work the pattern, when it's long enough to check your gauge, you check your gauge, and it tells you where to go from here. This yarn is Wonderland Yarns, and the colorway is Beautiful. And I love this hat. I love that little right there. It's my favorite. Oh, I love this hat. Actually, Kristen of the Where We Share Needles podcast told me it looks like lightning, and then, well, I can't see it as anything but lightning now. There's really not much more to say about this pattern. I did do it on a US 3. It's a worsted weight. It's not worsted. It's sport weight. Not fingering, but I couldn't love it anymore. So that is this is my second Musselburgh. This was my first, excuse me. And I made one for my daughter, which I don't have, and I am currently working on another one. But like I said, I'm not going out there. The baby will want me. Okay, let's move on to whips. I don't know why I always say it like that. Well, most people do, Chevy Row. But, you know, it's almost like I can't say the word without doing it like that because of her. So, okay, let's work on let's talk about the first one. The first one is halfway through a row because I was knitting on it because I'm nervous. And I don't know about y'all, but if I'm nervous, well, pretty much if I'm sitting and knitting, I have to have something in my hands. At all times, I have to have something in my hands, or I tend to not pay attention and my focus can go over there, and it's just better if I have it, and I'm happier. So what this is it is a vanilla sock on US 1.5, 2.5 millimeters, 64 stitches, and it is a sock for my fiance Don. I made him one other pair. I just started knitting socks actually. This will be like I have completed 5 socks. I've completed 5 socks, and I love them. And Don's not really a sweater guy or someone that wears a beanie or anything, and I love to show I show my love in hand knits. I show it in stitches. So I was really excited that I'm able to make something that he would wear and use. So I'm kind of on a kick to get him more socks, because the one pair he has, he wears all the time. So I don't want those to wear out. So I am knitting him another pair. I'm only at 7 minutes. I feel like I've been doing this for much longer. And please excuse my stumbling. I am incredibly nervous, and I may have already said that, but if I didn't, I am. And hopefully Don can figure out how to edit it out or something, because he's doing my editing for me because I'm totally lost, as I said before. Okay, so my second whip is another vanilla sock, but this time it is on a 2.25 US 1. It is another Felici in Under the Sea. Such pretty yarn. This is a Christmas gift. I'm not going to say who it's for, even though I know he'll never watch this podcast. I'm still not gonna say who it's for. And I've gotten really far. I've got a cast on, and I got 3 rows. But I did just cast it on today because I was feeling very overwhelmed, because I have a few whips that are for me, and then I realized it's November and I should probably get going on Christmas knits. So I put those aside. I did pull them out and to show them to you, but don't expect a lot of progress until I have at least 1 or 2 Christmas knits finished. So there's those. Super exciting, I know. Oh, I didn't say Dawn socks are in the colorway Speed Racer by Felici. It's from their last release of Felici, and it's the first time I've ever used it, and oh my god, I'm in love with them. I'm in love with Felici. I think I need all the colors, past and present, so I can knit all the socks. Okay, now I get these 2 patterns mixed up, and you'll soon see why. They both have the word morning, and they're both from the same maker or pattern designer. This one is probably my most favorite pattern I've ever worked on, my favorite pattern I've ever done. I've had a lot of light bulb moments, and I'm very proud of these socks. They are the Morning Walk socks by Kaylin, Crazy Sock Lady Co. And they are beautiful. The yarn I'm using is Cranberry Glitz by Buxom Knits, and one of Buxom Cat Knits. And if I, again, can figure it out, I'll put it in the description box below. She is on Etsy, and she's amazing. The heels and the heel and the cuff is done in one of the minis that I got from her winter collection, and the main sock is in cranberry glitz, and it is beautiful. I don't know if you can see. There you go. You can see, and that's pretty true to color. It's not blowing out too bad. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. I've known how to do cables, but I'll explain my light bulb moment here in a minute. I just want to, make sure you see it. And then I did a German short row heel. So when I say that this was like a light bulb moment for me, when I first started doing socks, I started watching the Crazy Sock Lady, and I did her tutorial. And I found it very interesting and very easy that she put the stitch markers every 10 rows, because I hate to count. I'm a knitter, but I hate to count. Explain that one to me. So by putting them, it's easier to count. Well, I have a 3-year-old. Well, he's almost 3. He'll be 3 in February. And so, as you can imagine, I'm up and down, up and down, up and down. And keeping track of a pattern when you're up and down, up and down, up and down is very frustrating and pretty much pointless. So I was determined to make these socks. I saw them, I fell in love with them. I had this yarn, I knew it would be beautiful, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do these socks. Even if I can only do it, a few minutes at night after he's in bed, or nap time, or something like that, I'm gonna make these socks. So as I was knitting, I was using this. It's a, oh, I need to cut that out. It is a magnet board with the magnet that you slide up and down, and that works, but I have to be careful not to put it down, or if I have to get up or something, it was pointless. So what I started doing is every first row, like the first row of a repeat, I put a light bulb stitch marker. That way I know exactly where I am throughout the whole entire sock. It has been so easy. I've been able to put it down mid-row because I can be like, okay, well, I'm like right now, 1, 2, 3, I'm ready to start row 4. So I love these socks. I don't know what else I can say about them, but it changed and opened up a lot of patterns for me, because I'm able to keep track of my rows in a much easier and less time consuming way. So there's those socks. Again, they're the Morning Walk socks by Kay Litton. The second one that I started for me and I ended up, putting away so that I can get Christmas knitting done, is the Morning Coffee socks, again by Kay Litton of Crazy Sock Lady Co. It is in this beautiful Christmas colorway by, once again, Bucks and Cat Knits. Unfortunately, I lost the tag. I know this is something that she put out this year, and I got it in one of her mystery skeins, but I can't remember the colorway. I'm doing them on a US 2.25 millimeter magic loop. I really wish I could get the hang of the 9-inch circulars, because I love to go around. That's one of the reasons I love the Musselburgh so much, but they cramp my hands. So this is a beautiful pattern. It is simply just knits and purls, but the texture is phenomenal. I love it. I'm having so much fun. It's mindless without being mindless. And again, I have stitch markers for the beginning of each row of the repeat. And so yeah, these have been a lot of fun. Probably won't see them for a while unless I somehow get magically faster at knitting, but I just wanted to show them, and I realize I'm saying a lot, so I will try and stop that. Now, the last WIP I have going is the Wondrous Wrap. I can't remember who the designer is, and I have a very, very, very little bit done. It is a wrap created by 2 triangles. It is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to say much more about it. But I wanted something very easy, very simple, no counting, to do with my scraps at night when I'm just kind of relaxing and trying to get ready for bed and like decompressing for the day. And so it's a simple knit triangular shawl, and you make 2 and you put them together. So I haven't gotten very far. I just started it last night, but it's a super simple pattern. It's basically garter stitch, and I absolutely love it. So there's that. I probably won't show it a lot because, again, I probably won't get a lot of progress on it, but it is something simple and easy that I know that I have that I can just pick up and work on. Sorry for the crinkling. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes. And that's it for the knitting portion of today. And on to story time. The story that I have chosen to talk to you or tell you this podcast is how I learned to knit. I figured it was appropriate. But once again, I would love it if you do email me and give me a story. I love hearing about people's lives, like I said. So please email me. The email that will be down below, and I would love to hear from you. When I was about 10 years old, I taught myself to crochet from a book for thread crochet, and of course it was right-handed, and I'm left-handed. That was quite the feat at 10, but I figured it out. I sat in my room and I was not leaving until I figured it out. And I had to do this because I wanted to be like Laura on Little House on the Prairie, which was my favorite book series and still is. In fact, I'm reading it once again. I am on the 3rd, which is Farmer Boy. I know people put Farmer Boy after. Anyway, I digress. So I taught myself to crochet, and then when I was about 12 years old, I got a paper route, and there was this couple, and they asked us to come around back and go to the sliding glass door because they were older and it was easier for them. And they always had a bowl of candy or hot chocolate or cookies, and so we'd always go in and visit before we would finish our route. And one day the lady was knitting, and I saw it and I was like, oh, I want to learn how to knit. So I very shyly asked her if she could teach me, and she agreed. My mom went to Walmart, got a ball of Red Heart Super Saver and some Boyd straight needles, and she taught me to knit. I knit a lot of scarves, a lot of very unusable pot holders, because again, I was working with acrylic yarn. I knew nothing. There wasn't YouTube, there wasn't Facebook, the internet wasn't what it is today. So I was totally lost. I was doing basically what I saw or what I knew to do. And I put it up probably a year later, and I picked it up and put it down and picked it up and put it down and picked it up and put it down throughout my life. And then when I lived in Kentucky, which was almost 4 years ago, I was really bored. And so I bought some yarn at Walmart and crocheted my daughter a blanket. And then my son wanted one, so I crocheted him one, and I crocheted them for gifts that year. I made 7 crocheted blankets in like 4 months. And I was addicted to crochet. And when we moved back to Washington State, where I live now, I put it away. I didn't think about crochet. I was really into drawing. And then I found out I was pregnant with my youngest. And I picked crochet back up. What is it about like those kind of hobbies that women tend to pick up when they're pregnant? Did I knit him or crochet him anything? No. I crocheted my nephew a blanket, but I was still addicted to it. So when I would get up with him in the middle of the night, I would watch. I grabbed my phone. I said, hey, maybe there's something on YouTube where someone's talking about the projects they're working on. I had no clue what a podcast was. And I stumbled across Cozy Cottage Crochet and instantly fell in love with Hannah, and I binge watched it. Every time I woke up with the baby, I'd watch it. And then there was this episode where she was knitting hats for coworkers. They were going on a trip and she was knitting them in the round. And I was like, oh, you can knit in the round? Oh. So then I had some knitting needles. They were the Clover Tukanami. I can never say that. And I had like, I think I only had like 4 tips. So I knit hats, and I knit a lot of hats. And then I became obsessed with knitting, and I went on Ravelry, and I was seeing all these things, and I'm like, there's no way I can make any of this. So I joined a few groups on Facebook, and I met this woman, and she is and will always be my knitting mentor. I love her with all my heart, and she is across the pond. She lives in Australia, and I live in the US. But it's amazing to me that we were able to connect like we did and just form this great relationship and friendship through knitting. We no longer talk about just knitting. I would consider her my friend, and I love her to pieces. So I basically have Sue to thank for my knitting addiction. And then she asked me, why don't you knit a sweater? Because I was just doing hats. All I ever wanted to knit was hats. Hats, 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 hats. Now I was learning a lot because I was teaching myself how to cable with hats. I was teaching myself a little tiny bit of lace. But it was still just hats. And I ended up knitting a worsted weight sweater. And then I started on socks, and I'm hooked. I love everything about knitting. I collect the patterns, I collect yarn, needle sets. I'm just absolutely addicted to knitting, and I couldn't be more thankful for my fiance, who is so incredibly supportive of my hobby. And in fact, like I said, he kind of forced me to do the podcast. I've been talking about it for a very long time, and he finally just said, here, let's do this. I'll figure out how to edit it and go record it. So that's what I did today. I created an Instagram. I created a YouTube. And I'm not sure if I'm able to change my Ravelry name again. And if I'm not, I will put the information, the current information, in the description box below. I try to keep my project pages updated, but that's a new thing. I just started doing that. I'm really bad about, like, I started. I don't want to worry about when I started it, and then halfway through the project I'm like, this is taking me forever. When did I start it? So I'm trying really hard to get better at using Ravelry to the full extent instead of just for patterns. So that's how I started to knit. That's why I wanted to start knitting, and I can't imagine not knitting. It's just not a day goes by that I don't have needles in my hands. And I love it. I'm not even sad about it. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for visiting. Thank you for spending some time with me and listening to me talk in my bedroom to what feels like myself. If you do like this, please subscribe, like the video, and I will talk to you later. Happy knitting.